today is we are, as kind of we know it, approaching sort of the beginning of phase one of kind of reopening. And at least for keeping kind of everything in the, speaking of like CrossFit NOLA in the gym, I know like offices and everything else is going to be reopening as well. And everybody's very excited to get back into it, as you should be. Like getting excited, something that we missed, enjoyed. I know I'm excited to get back in and coach, but there's definitely a lot of things to kind of consider. Some good, some, I'm a little hesitant to use the word bad. I think I would just say maybe just some behaviors to avoid because they have potential to kind of bring us down. And we can use this more of an opportunity. So I kind of wanted to start with getting people to kind of ask themselves, evaluating how you have potentially used this time to incorporate better behaviors into your routine, things that might, as you could look back before, that might not have been doing as well. I know as a gym, we've been putting out a lot of content on different things we can do. We've done talks on various nutrition topics as well as hydration, amongst others. So I wanted people to think about using that information. What is one thing you may have now incorporated that you've been doing during your quarantine, and making sure that we keep that going forward? So that could be a number of different things. It can be something as tangible as, like I said, now after we did our macro count, we have a much better understanding of what those macros are. And it could be something as consistent or something as simple as how consistent we've been with our workouts. We have some people who have been hitting the workouts possibly 4 to 5 times a week, whereas before they might have been only coming to the class, hitting the workouts maybe 2 to 3 times a week. So adding that extra session a week, improving their consistency as well. So for the people here, I just want to kind of, if anybody's like not on mute, or if you are on mute, kind of unmute yourself. Like, what would be one thing you've added or have been doing that you would really like to see yourself continue once we begin that transition back towards what normal may be? So we can kind of go, I'm just going to read the names off from left to right from where I'm at. So I guess we'll start with George and Louise. And you can unmute. I'm okay with y'all unmuting and asking questions as we go.
Well, I've been hydrating a lot more, paying more attention to hydration. I didn't really pay too much attention to it before, which is ironic since I would come to the gym when it's hot and sweaty.
Yeah, that's something like here, especially New Orleans, is of the utmost importance. Keeping that hydration, because that not only helps obviously with like fueling the workouts, but recovery as well. Are you objectively measuring it?
I'm not. I try and have one of these things of water between morning and lunchtime, which I never used to before.
I would say that definitely counts as like an objective measurement. Like, like filling that bottle, drinking it is your way of knowing that, like that way of kind of checking the box.
Yeah, but I used to sometimes just forget to drink completely in the morning.
Oh yeah. Well, so now I said make that your behavior that you've added to your routine that you're going to maintain throughout. Where are you at, Louise?
Well, I've been really focusing a lot on mobility as well as doing the classes. I've been having a set amount of time that I do stretching and really trying to work on my mobility for a squat. And like some skills as well. Like we've been practicing handstands against the wall, and practicing push-ups.
Yeah. So taking that time out, working on mobility. I noticed the theme with yours was like skill development. Mm-hmm. Taking the time to work on skill development. It's not always the most fun. It's not the thing that people look back on and sort of remember from like 3 weeks ago, like, oh yeah, 3 weeks ago, that was such a good stretch I held for 2 minutes. But that's the injury prevention and the long-term development. Where you at, Amanda?
I didn't hear the question.
Kind of asking people, since we've been in the kind of lockdown mode, what is maybe a new behavior you may have added to your routine that you'd like to continue once we sort of begin the transition?
A new behavior.
It's all right if you have it. Like, we're going to go back into different reasons why or why not that may have happened.
Yeah. No, I'll if I can come up with something later.
Yeah, just fire it at me.
Just any new behaviors since that we've developed with this.
Looking for the positive ones here.
Okay. I'll think about it. Have to think about it.
Botany, where you at?
So after Brandon's talk on intermittent fasting, I started that at the end of last week. I hate it, but I'm gonna keep at it though.
Well, good. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we've been putting out as much content as we can to try different things. And then hopefully once you've kind of grasped intermittent fasting, and if you start to see the results that you're looking for from it, now we keep that going. I mean, I myself took one of the nutrition talks Brandon had with his macros, and I've always, back when I was like competing, been very kind of deliberate with my macros, and then kind of fell away from being as objective. And then I took this time to dial it back in, and I've already kind of been seeing progress there, which has been good. And that was kind of so getting everybody's positive things they'd like to add, knowing that now we have the time to incorporate that in, going back to where the things we probably wish we would have been doing before. I would say as a coach, one of the most common excuses we hear on why people are unable to do some of these things is time. And so now we've kind of been given the gift of time and gotten a chance to really see the value of those additions, and hopefully they develop into routines. And routines are usually always easier to keep than they are to start. And I think one of the biggest things we can do with our current situation to stay on the positive train of thought is, rather than look at this as this end of something we were doing for so long, which was going to the gym, staying fit, maybe looking at it more as this opportunity. Anytime just in history, whether it's in any industry, there is this sudden change. Certain people succeed and certain people fail, or businesses succeed, businesses fail, based on how they adapt to that situation. And you can use this as an opportunity to create change. So the most common excuse we get is we don't have that time. And now we have that time. So now utilizing things we can learn and incorporating that, and now changing to adapt for the better, because we're all in the same situation here. One thing that's very unique about this change is it happens so suddenly. A lot of times it's a very sort of kind of not drawn process, but a longer one. Just read a lot about, I do a lot of like stock trading. So I'm always studying effects of business. And obviously there's the streaming, how online streaming shut down everything with like Blockbuster and all that. But some businesses have to adapt. So now we have to really figure out how we're going to adapt to that. And the fear I think the coaches are having are when people begin to start that change, knowing that it's going to be a developmental change, like looking at a process. I think one of the biggest fears, at least I'm looking at, I can't really speak for all the other coaches, is we're all very excited and anticipating opening up. So let's say that day is May 18th. We're going to have to treat this as if we're kind of restarting, similar to if you were coming back from an injury. I think we're not going to be going in and let's find our 1 rep max in everything. Let's just go in and hammer ourselves. Like, you're not going to get fit in one day. You're not going to make up for any losses you may have had in one day. And I think that is one of our concerns. And I'm in the process of programming the first week back, and kind of where the challenge is with programming that week is I have to take into account a CrossFit NOLA population of people who I'm looking at the people on this call whose names I've been seeing pretty routinely on the workouts. And I have to now keep in mind, there are also people who might not have been doing the workouts for the past 5-6 weeks, whatever that may have been. And when you have someone coming into the gym who hasn't been very active in 5 to 6 weeks, you have to take that into account. And I know one of my fears is people coming back in and maybe trying to just get 6 weeks worth of working out in one day. And then that's going to do more harm than good. And I know everybody kind of has not necessarily like fears, but different concerns. And it's no big deal at all if the concern is you go in and you're like, damn, a weight that used to feel pretty light and routine is now feeling very laboring and challenging. So real quick, just kind of going through again, what's one thing you're a little concerned about getting back in on that first day? And it could be something as simple as maybe my rhythm's going to be off on my kipping pull-up because I haven't touched a pull-up bar in however many weeks. So we'll kind of go through that same order again with starting with George and Louise. Where are you guys at?
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about the weights because I can just scale that down to whatever feels right that day. But I'm more concerned about gymnastic movements like pull-ups, especially volume.
Well, yes, yeah, we're going to get back to that volume term. So more thinking along the lines of you're going to still be confident with your movement pattern and rhythm, but the amount of contractions is going to sneak up on you more quickly than usual. Where are you at, Louise?
Yes, I feel the same. I've not touched a pull-up bar. We've got no means to like go right. They shut all the pull-up bars in the park because in the beginning we did ring rows and we went and we did pull-up practice, but that got shut down. So I'm probably going to think that I won't be able to do pull-ups again.
You'll be able to do them again. Amanda.
So yeah, there's a lot of concerns.
Yeah, that's why we're here. What you got?
I think in general, any barbell movement, because I haven't done, or dumbbell, sorry, I always get barbells and dumbbells mixed up. Don't make fun of me.
Oh, you're good.
The barbell movements, because I haven't done anything with the barbell. So just picking up the barbell and snatching it and doing the clean stuff, all the movement names that I can't remember any of them. And definitely, yeah, kipping pull-ups. Like I actually went out like towards the beginning of the COVID thing and ordered a pull-up bar. So like I've probably done less pull-ups since I've had that installed in my house now that and I rarely use it, but just, I'm not so much worried. I think more of like toes to bar, like kipping pull-ups, all of that. I've lost a rhythm, and so getting that rhythm back and and just like, yeah, pretty much anything that we haven't done, right? That involves
the movements that are a little more gym specific, where you need access to the facility to really
right. And you need the space, like just having that open space, which I haven't. But on a positive note, to go back to the previous question, I have the positive take from all this. I have really developed my handstand walks, and they've gotten really good.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was a lot. And my pistols have gotten a little bit, tiny bit better. So there's some small improvements So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll see that next time I see you in the gym. I'm going to call you out on that handstand walk.
I've gotten pretty good, man. I'm pretty proud of myself because I've tried to practice.
Hey, that's a tough one to get.
Yeah. So
Very proud. Where you at, Bob?
I think mine is just with everything. So being sick and then recovering from it, I feel slower, a lot slower than I was. So I get frustrated with it, but I know it's the process. But it's like, will I get back to at least where I was so that I can keep going from there?
Yeah, so this kind of brings me into where I wanted to go into next, which is the combination of the physical and mental approach and getting those two on the same page, which can lead to success, or when there's a disconnect there, which can often lead to failure. So on the physical side of coming back into the gym, I know as a coach, it was funny because all of y'all created a perfect segue into this where you were talking about certain movements and like the skill movements, movements you've just been unable to do. So the repetitions haven't been there the past 6 weeks. My fear, especially with barbell movement and external loading, is people are going to go back and try to substitute volume with movement quality. So for instance, they're going to be like, I haven't clean and jerked the barbell in 6 weeks. I'm going to do a workout that has 100 clean and jerks. Well, like, no, we haven't clean and jerked in 6 weeks. The last thing we want to do is like high volume repetitions. So managing those repetitions, starting low, maybe you'll see, and it's going to be it's going to be very, I don't want to say frustrating, but I think people are going to be surprised in the sense when they see the first workouts coming back, you're not going to see an overload of the movements we haven't been able to do. You're going to see the movements we haven't been able to do sort of pepper at, say, like a 25% coupled with the movements we have been able to do, because we know you have those movement patterns dialed in. And then throughout the next couple weeks, that ratio, that 25% is slowly going to pick up. So there's a 25% of those movements on the barbell, the ones we haven't been doing. The next week, maybe that 25 becomes 35 to 40. The week after that, so on and so on. And that's how we're gradually going to pick it up. It's like we've been doing a lot of stuff with dumbbells, a lot of body weight movements. I know burpees not the most fun movement. I mean, depending on who you are, burpees might not be everybody's favorite movement, but it's a movement you can do at home. Push-ups are a movement you can do at home. And you might be thinking like, I don't want to do another push-up or air squat for at least 2 months. You're probably going to see push-ups and air squats in that first week, but you'll see them combined with lower volume reps of barbell clean and jerks, snatches, slowly building strength back up. And so just kind of mentally knowing like that's where we're going to want to be. Because I think the biggest mistake I see athletes making are going to be coming in and trying to get fit in one day. And that's a mistake athletes make at every level. Obviously, we're kind of at a hiatus because of a different reason here, but I've seen it for injuries. And I think one of the biggest things people do incorrectly is they try to pick up where they left off. So finding new baselines is going to be very important. That doesn't necessarily mean going in and finding your 1 rep max day one, but now knowing, like we will get to there, finding those new baselines, but knowing what weights are a little more manageable and starting out a little more conservatively. So on that note, like I said, when we go in, be prepared to sort of see a transition of those movements come in rather than just get blanket thrown at you all in like that first week. Like it's not going to be, hey guys, guess what? You missed the barbell all week. It's going to end up doing more harm than good because your body's not really adapted to that yet. 6 weeks off, it's not the longest time off. I mean, there are definitely injuries that have that kind of 4 to 6 week recovery period, but it's definitely a time frame that you have to realize to take into account when coming back. For some of the strength work, as far as like external loading, so now we're talking like our heavier back squats, front squats, deadlifts, you'll see more transitions rather than top end loadings, a lot of tempos. So developing that structure again throughout the movement pattern. So controlling through the whole range of motion. So you might see a lot of tempos on the eccentric portion of the back squat, because it's probably been a while since your posterior chain has loaded 100, 200, 300 potentially plus pounds on that barbell. And so that's how we're going to approach the comeback on the physical side in terms of just the training. Now, on the next element of coming back, there's that mental side. And this is where I, at least for me as an athlete, I've always considered this to be one of my strengths, is staying sort of mentally strong and focused. And I say strengths, and then sometimes it comes at me to a fault because I can get caught up thinking I'm more fit or more adapted than I am. But two things to consider here. One, when you come back, yeah, there are going to be those slight declines in some of those movements, but it's going to come back quicker than you expect. So don't let that mindset of failure start to manifest. Don't expect to come in where you left off. Treat it as if we are coming in and now finding our new baseline to begin that next step, that next opportunity we have. Because like I said, you can treat this drastic change as an opportunity to now start to do things better, create a better change. Or my fear is that it's gonna, not everybody, sometimes not meeting your own expectations can really drain on you. I see that happen to athletes a lot. And sometimes that's when it's really hard to bring someone out of that. So focusing on when we get back, already having the expectation of, hey, certain numbers lifts aren't going to be where they were, but now I just need to find where I'm at. And once we go in with that mindset, now we can appreciate the progress. So looking at the progress and the improvements from finding our new baseline, use those as mental boosts rather than seeing it as still this climbing journey of getting back. And what I mean by that is, like, just for number's sake, let's say you're deadlifting, the last deadlift you did before everything shut down was 250 pounds. Then when we get back, we have a day where we're deadlifting and 205 pounds felt like a very heavy, challenging pull. That's where we called it for the day. Rather than thinking like, hey, I'm never going to get to 250 again, look at it as like, now I'm at 205. And then when we hit 220, it's not a sense of, hey, I'm still not at 250. I'm still not at 250. Look at 220 as, hey, that's a 15-pound improvement from my new current, where that new baseline was. So y'all kind of get what I'm saying there? Mentally kind of already look at this as an opportunity to find a new baseline and a new track of progression. Now, that being said, this next phase, I think, is one of, at least for me, my biggest fears coming back in the group class setting. I think a lot of times, especially people taking time out of their day to be on this chat, anyone who is a member at CrossFit NOLA takes an hour out of their day to come to class to better themselves physically and mentally. They have that mindset of wanting to improve. And sometimes that mindset of wanting to improve can slowly get too caught up in maybe the whiteboard element and the quote unquote competition element. And that can sometimes hurt their performance, and they let that sort of drain on them. And this is where some of the negativity starts to manifest in the gym. And the example I'm going to give is, we're all going to come back to the gym that first day. May 19th, let's say you're in your class, you finish your workout. Every single person in that gym has not been in there and worked out for the past, or at least worked out in a CrossFit NOLA class structure under our roof for 6 weeks. We know that. It's not going to be beneficial for every person to just keep talking about how hard it is to work out, how nowhere strong as I used to be, I'm not as fit as I used to be, we know this. Like, we don't need 10 people just continuing, 10 plus, 15, however big the class is, continuing to discuss or bring a negative atmosphere into the gym, because nothing is going to spread faster and nothing is harder to remove than a negative atmosphere in a room. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk about it in this chat is because, in my mind, the people who are going to take time to come to a chat like this are probably some of the people that you may not even realize it, that other class members probably look up to you in the gym. And so just knowing that it's going to be very important to not bring up every day, if you're sensing a struggle, to say, hey, or just like, oh man, haven't been able to work out for 6 weeks. Haven't done this for 6 weeks. Haven't done, like, everyone's coming back from the same page. This hasn't been specific to any person. We're all coming back from the same thing that's kept us away. And so I just want to kind of get y'all's thoughts on that, where how in your mind, when you're going into a workout, do you think, or just any training session, whatever it may be, are you dealing well with not letting negative thoughts manifest outwardly? I think once something is said from the mind, I'm a firm believer that once something leaves the mind and is spoken, it becomes much more of an influence on how we act, whether it be positive or negative. I think it has a huge power in the positive sense of when someone says a goal, it seems like it's going to become more a part of them and control more of their actions, but it reciprocates the same way negatively, in the sense of when they say something, it's gonna exponentially affect it. So I tell my 5:30 a.m.ers all the time, like, it's 5:30 a.m. for all of us. Like, we're all tired. No one needs to say how tired they are, because you're going to feel more tired the more you talk about it. So what do you guys feel about that? I know it's kind of not the most direct question. I guess you just kind of give agree or disagree, or maybe say and it's okay if you're someone who's not the best at holding negative thoughts in and putting positive thoughts out. I know great athletes that they have to kind of keep in check. They're like, yeah, I'm down on myself a lot. I'm just down out loud a lot. We'll go the reverse way this time. So I'm going to start with you, Botany.
Okay, I got it. I think I've gotten better at that, but I don't think it'll be too hard as far as going into the gym, because now, like you said, everybody's at the same. We're all pretty much at the same level. We're all starting over, so it'll help put things in perspective, that even though so and so is faster or lifting more, but they're still not doing what they did before. So we're all at the same level. So that kind of helps change your mindset that everybody's starting over. It's not just you by yourself, but everybody is.
Yeah, I think, like, I know when I'm coaching my classes, like I said, I'm a huge believer on voicing things that are positive. It's definitely one of the things I'm going to, like, tell everybody is, like, before the class even starts, like, we're not talking about how we haven't done anything for 6 weeks. Like, it's assumed. We don't need to amplify that element and bring it into the atmosphere. Where you at, Amanda?
I don't really know how to answer the question, but I know when coming back in, when we get to regular workout routines and seeing people, I really don't think people will be too negative, because I think at least from my side going back, I'm just going to be so excited to work out and see other people around me working out, even if it is at a distance. And like Botany was saying, yeah, we're all coming back in on the same kind of levels. None of us, a lot of us haven't practiced several movements in a very long time. And I think if anything, it's going to be more encouraging because people will cheer you on more and like motivate you more to get a better workout in, right? Now that you finally can work out around people and have not like complete normalcy, but at least you can see other people's faces in real time and like
not through the Zoom.
Yeah, not through the Zoom. I'm going to just be super excited and positive about that. I could care less about my PRs and working out. I mean, I do care to an extent, naturally, but like I'm more excited for the community aspect and seeing everyone just together.
Yeah, I've never been so excited and ready to start setting my alarm for 4:30 a.m. again to get up and do my 5 classes. I can't wait to set that alarm.
It's like a new excitement.
George and Luis.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to like seeing people in real life, and because I think like, during this time it's been great, like doing the Zoom meetings and seeing people and getting to know other people that probably I didn't really know before because we all come from the different gyms. But
it's kind of what I was expecting from the answers was that excitement of coming back. And I think one of the things I'm always gonna really be looking for, and I hope I guess I'm right on this, and y'all kind of all shared my thoughts, was yes, there's gonna be that negativity of people coming in, or not coming in, but then when they come back in, kind of how I was talking about, maybe being a little bit down. But I'm hoping it's going to be the negativity will be overshadowed by the amount of positivity of people coming in, of people excited to be back. And I think getting our community back, that excitement is going to not, I think we have such a strong foundation at CrossFit NOLA that it's hopefully going to let people forget about the things that they might be complaining about. My fear is, like I was saying, just from my experience of working with athletes, and when I use the term athletes, I call every person that takes time out of their day to work on their health and wellness an athlete. I'm not talking about elite level athletes. Every member I coach, that's who I refer to as athletes. So like all the members, it's just sometimes where when you have a group atmosphere, negativity spreads a lot faster than positivity. So you can have a group of 20 people, one negative person can bring down the group of those 19 other people much more heavily than if you flipped it and you had one positive person amongst 19 negative people won't have the same impact. So it's going to be very important, especially on the coaches, to make sure we're implementing that element of look at this now as not, hey, we've had all these losses, we were off, like, oh, I'm down, I'm not where I was. Look at it as now it's a change. This is a sudden change to create new opportunities, develop new habits. And I think that's going to be the mindset that's going to start developing best for long-term success. And where I think we really need to focus on the long-term success is where you are all excited about coming back in that first day. And that's something what I would refer to as like motivation. And motivation is great. Motivation is one of the most necessary things to achieving goals. But when you go back in, when you wake up that first day, go back to that reason why you started in the first place. Always choose reason over motivation. Motivation will get you going. reason will keep it sustained. Motivation comes and goes. A good analogy I like to use is if you think about it like a fire, like a motivation is going to be that burst, the kindling. It lights real quick, but that reason, that's that long log that keeps it going all night. So still think back on why you're there in the first place and let that be the driver. I think sometimes we get too, I talk about this with another buddy of mine, how I always think it's funny that you have on YouTube now, like unlimited access to billions or millions or thousands, whatever, motivational videos. But yet still the most common thing that keeps people out of the gym is lack of motivation, because it just comes and goes that quickly. So go in that first day, week, couple weeks, you should be excited. Like, I don't want to be this downer. Like, I can't wait to get back in there. But still don't forget why you were there in the first place. Think back about what brought you in there day one before all this. Because come 2-3 weeks, once we get open up those doors after day one, things that may have kind of gotten to you, they're going to come up again. So what I mean by that is before all this, we had those phases of training where we had weeks where, you know, we killed it. We checked off all the boxes that week. And then we had that second week where that next week, things didn't go very well. We fell off. We missed 3 days, maybe the whole week. Nutrition was very poor. And there's reasons for that. Those reasons haven't gone away. The things that might have negatively affected you before COVID, they're going to come back. They're going to come back. And now we need to take this time and think about like how you've been missing the gym and how not necessary, but definitely influential it's been on your life, and use that to kind of fight back the negativity that was there before. So kind of going around again, thinking back to what might have been, say, one of your, not worse, but like lesser weeks where things didn't go as well. You only made it once or twice. Nutrition was off, just weren't yourself. What were some of those things that kind of hindered that progress? And we'll go back in the reverse or the initial order. So starting kind of with George and Louise.
So I'm always positive. I think in general, I feel that this is an opportunity to set more PRs. When you go back to the gym, you know, everything's reset. So after you've been doing CrossFit for a while, you reach a plateau. So this is an opportunity to start from slightly lower, and who knows, you may actually be able to overcome your plateau after you start training in, you know, perhaps in a more methodical way or slightly change something. I had a break.
Kind of said earlier, I think in almost any element, whether it's fitness, business, whatever it may be, anytime there's drastic change, people come out of it either on the side of failure or success. And it's going to depend on how you approach it. And like I said, my fear is that some people are going to come back. They're not going to be where they were, and they're going to see it as a failure. And there's going to be some people that come back and see it as a new journey. And I think that's going to lead to success. And that's the mindset I want to keep drilling into everybody as we do start that transition back, is to think of it more as the start of a new journey, not trying to pick up where you left off after maybe pitching a tent on your last trail for the past 6 weeks. What about you, Amanda?
What was the question again?
Kind of talking about what were before all of this happened. And
Right.
if you were to look back at what would, say, one of your lesser weeks that you weren't as great at, say, you only made it once or twice, were way off your normal routine, what were one of the things that were not in the way of that? So what are some of the things that get in the way of your fitness goals, whether it be work, things going on, just motivation, whatever that may be?
Well, definitely work. I think when I get back into a routine and have a more normal work schedule, for now, it's for people that are working from home, I guess it's kind of convenient to do a lot of these workouts from home in a way, even though it's hard to motivate yourself to just do the workout. But I think getting back into the swing of normal things, just working around my work schedule past versus what it has been, is kind of going to be challenging, I guess.
And work is definitely the toughest one to work around, because that's, once you prioritize things, that's definitely a necessity, obviously. What about you, Botany?
There we go. So for me, this is my third restart. So I broke my wrist, then I had surgery. Now this. The first 2 times I kept comparing myself to where I was before, and then was constantly frustrated that I wasn't back to where I was. So this time it's more of an understanding of, like you were saying, starting over. I'm not really afraid as far as work or anything, because I teach, so we'll be out of school. So I'll still have the time, but just keeping my mind in a place of it's all right and I'll get there is the biggest thing now.
Yeah, and now that I've kind of really drilled in the fact that, hey, it is now a process of starting over, one habit, I wish this message would get out. I try to get this message out to as many people as possible. One habit I would like everyone to try to do starting day one, and some of y'all may be great at this already, is tracking your progress as far as like Metcon times, benchmarks, numbers. I think that is one of the biggest things that people, it's so simple to do, yet it has the biggest impact. And it has a huge impact for a few reasons. One, when we have percentage work days, we can work accurately because we have numbers to go off of. And two, now it allows us to really appreciate progress. Not every day is going to be a huge PR day, but you need those days of just knowing like you're getting better. So I would really push to use this as an opportunity when we talk about using this time of change as a way to create opportunity. I think one of the simplest things you can do for that, and I think I would say so many people can be better at, are tracking those numbers in your workouts. There's a reason we repeat workouts at the beginning, the end of cycles, why we do percentage works, percentages and things like that. And then if there's a workout that might have a pretty strange Metcon weight, and you don't know what to do, and the coach might ask you what your max X, Y, or Z is, and we can give you kind of a percentage to go off of there. So I would say, knowing that now, kind of like I said, drilled into this fact of looking at it as a new journey, that's the first habitual change I would like you to take, is being more consistent tracking those numbers. So how would y'all, you just give me a quick thumbs up or thumbs down, tracking workouts, where are we at with that? Oh, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Hell yeah. Well, keep that up. Keep that up. Because I think a lot of times the people that don't, it's this, I don't want to say fear, but I think some people like holding on to this little bit of lack of accountability as a slight hedging, because they don't want, if they don't do as well as they'd hoped, they don't have that number, they don't have that proof hitting them in the face. And sometimes that proof, it might suck for the time being, but it's that little kick in the butt you need sometimes. And if you never get that kick in the butt and you continually think what you're doing is working when objectively it's not, we're just creating bad habits. And that's the huge benefit to tracking everything, is because now once you get that sign of like, oh, what I've been doing is not working, and then you look back and you see a lot of things have sort of been off as far as sleep, nutrition, training, a lot of variables to consider there. We can see where we can improve different things. And then just, to kind of finish things up, to sum it up, I wanted to just remind you again, like I said, I know we are all ready to go back on that first day, that motivation, I promise you're going to crush that first week back. You're going to crush the second week back. You're probably going to crush the third week back. But all of those days where, like I said, when I talk to people a lot about, hey, you know what, why haven't you been coming? What's been the biggest thing keeping you from being in the gym? It's like, I just like kind of lost motivation. That's going to come back around. Those problems that hurt us before all this, they haven't gone away. They're going to come back, and be prepared for that. And that's why I want you to go back and find the reason you started in the first place. Use it as an opportunity to really go back and find that reason. I had to do it myself. I did the same thing myself where, I mean, I can't speak for the other coaches. I've been at this for 7 years now. And it's kind of had that time off, and I had to look back. I'm like, why did I – once I started thinking about why I got started writing everything down, and now I'm just still getting excited to get back in the gym and just loving the training element. So kind of just be ready for that fourth week, that lull coming back in. And once you tap back into that reason, that's going to be what helps you get through those days. Because motivation comes and goes, and it goes pretty often. That's why we have to kind of find it a lot. And then as far as the physical side of it, the biggest advice I wish there was not just the CrossFit NOLA population on this Zoom chat, but the entire fitness world on this. You are not going to make up for 6 weeks off in 1 day, in 2 days, in 3 days, in 4 days, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks. You're not. You're going to do more harm than good. And it's going to be a fun process. That's why we're here as coaches. That's why we have the best members in the world. And it's going to be enjoyable, but I know you've been off the barbell for a good bit. You're ready to go lift all the heavy weights and want to throw that barbell around all day. But like I said, the programming back in, you're going to see a little bit of a transition of, you'll still see those movements we've been doing, smaller percentage of the ones we haven't. And then over the course of 1, 2, 3 weeks, that ratio will change. But yeah, thank y'all for coming in on this one. I'm very big on mindset and approach to training. I can't say enough how much I think voicing negativity just amplifies it and exponentially just increases at this uncontrollable rate. And my biggest fear is we're going to get done those first few workouts and everyone's just going to be talking about how they haven't worked out in so long and haven't worked out in so long. And we know that. We're all coming from that same boat. So as people that are here, I know people that are here, y'all might not know it, but I promise you there's other people in the gym that look up to you. So keep things positive. If you see someone struggling with one of the things we talked about, step in and kind of relay some of the things we went over. People are always going to need that encouragement. It's some people are going to deal with it better than others. Some people do need a little bit of help. And that's why we have a great community. We're here to just kind of help people lean on you and keep them up when they want to go down. But yeah, thank y'all for joining in on this and listening to me talk for a little bit. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Thank you, Phil.
And stay updated in the members page for the seminars we have coming up. And then once we hear announcements on what we can or can't do as far as phase 1, obviously we're going to keep everybody as posted, as up to date, and with as much information as possible. But I cannot wait to see all y'all again through means other than my computer screen.
Thank you.
Bye.